My husband left me for a younger girl and said I was just a phase he outgrew. His entire family mocked me online while posting pictures of her in my old clothes. I said nothing. 6 months later, at his dad's company gala, he was fired in front of everyone, and I was announced as the new chief strategy officer. My name is Elena Monroe. I'm 34, a marketing strategist by profession, and someone who believed too deeply in building a life together. I thought I had everything I ever wanted: a stable marriage, a respectable career, and a home filled with laughter. But life has a funny way of pulling the rug right out from under you when you least expect it. I met Jason when I was 28. He was charming, driven, the kind of guy who lit up every room he walked into. A couple of years older than me, he worked in his father's corporate empire, Monroe Global Solutions, a massive logistics and supply chain firm with hundreds of employees and influence across multiple states. Our romance moved fast. By the end of the first year, we were engaged, married 6 months later. I thought I had found my forever. But forever ended with a text. It wasn't even a real breakup, not one where someone sits you down with decency. I was on a work trip in Chicago when I got the message. We need to talk. I think I've outgrown what we have. It feels like you were just a phase. I found someone who sees me for who I am now. That was it. 7 years of love, gone in 4 lines. When I came back, the house was half empty. My favorite coffee mugs were missing. My silk robe, the perfume he always said reminded him of us. He'd taken her there. Into the home we built. She was wearing my things, and soon after, his family, the Eversnide Monroe clan, were posting Instagram stories of him and his new girlfriend, Chloe, a 22-year-old fitness influencer with 500,000 followers, grinning in my old dresses. They didn't even try to hide the captions. Upgrade. She fits the brand better. Out with the old, in with the bold. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I disappeared quietly. Everyone thought I was broken. In a way, I was. But pain has this alchemy. It burns away the illusions and leaves you with the raw truth. And my truth was this: I had poured everything into a man who saw me as a stepping stone. But I wasn't going to drown in his betrayal. I was going to rise from it. So I moved out of the Monroe house, got my own place, cut off contact, and buried myself in my work. I joined a consulting firm that specialized in corporate turnarounds. It was intense, ruthless, exactly what I needed. I climbed fast, worked nights, skipped weekends. I stopped crying around week 7. I stopped checking their profiles around week 12. Then something interesting happened around month 5. I got an email from Martin Ashford, the CEO of Monroe Global, Jason's father. He wanted to meet privately. We sat in a quiet corner of an old cigar lounge downtown, where men in suits played power games over bourbon. He wasn't what I expected: colder, more observant, calculating. He spoke slowly, like someone who never repeated himself. I've been watching your career move like wildfire, he said, lighting a cigar. You were always smarter than Jason, more grounded. I need someone like that. I was stunned. This was the same man who once told me at Christmas that I was a pretty face, not much of a strategist. I asked him what changed. He took a slow drag and said, I finally realized you were playing chess while the rest of us were playing checkers. That conversation changed everything. Within 2 weeks, I was in meetings with the board. 3 weeks after that, I was discreetly hired on as a strategic consultant under a different name to help fix a major failing department within Monroe Global. Jason had no idea. He thought I was long gone, forgotten, just a phase. But behind closed doors, I was rebuilding the company he thought he'd inherit, rewiring the systems, cleaning up the messes he made. And the best part, the board loved me. By month 6, they made a decision. There would be a change in leadership. The announcement would be made at the Monroe Global Annual Gala, a black tie affair, flashy, over the top, the kind of event where appearances were everything. They didn't tell Jason ahead of time. They wanted it to be poetic. And oh, it was. Because what happened that night will forever be remembered by everyone who watched it unfold. The Monroe Global Annual Gala was held at the Monarch Hotel downtown, floor to ceiling chandeliers, live jazz, champagne fountains. It looked like a scene from a movie. I stepped out of the black car in a midnight blue satin dress, one that turned heads instantly. People whispered, jaws dropped. I didn't care about their looks, I was here for the finale. Jason was already inside, parading Chloe around like she was a prize he'd won at a carnival. She wore one of my old designer gowns, one he'd gifted me for our second anniversary. I recognized it instantly, except it didn't hang on her the same way. The sleeves drooped, the waistline gaped. It was like she was wearing someone else's life mine. I walked past them like they didn't exist. Jason's jaw clenched the second he saw me. Chloe looked me up and down, gave a smug little smirk, and leaned in to kiss his cheek. He looked shaken, though. Maybe it was the confidence in my stride. Or maybe it was the fact that, for the first time, he wasn't in control of the room. His mother, Miranda, approached me with her signature fake laugh. Well, 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 she drawled. The ghost of Monroe past returns. We didn't expect you here. Gate crashing, are we? I smiled sweetly. I was invited. Her smirk faltered. That's when Martin Ashford walked up and placed a firm hand on my shoulder. I insisted she attend. She's our guest of honor tonight. You could practically hear the collective gasp. Jason made his way over, face pale. What the hell is going on? Martin didn't answer. He just gave him that same cold stare I got in the cigar lounge. Stay tuned. The night went on, awkwardly. Jason kept stealing glances. Chloe looked increasingly confused. I knew she had no idea what kind of woman I really was. In her mind, I was the ex, the sad, leftover, the older, out-of-touch failure. And that's exactly how I wanted her to think. Until the time was right, dinner ended, the lights dimmed, a microphone was brought out. It was time for the annual leadership speech. Jason strutted up, expecting to be introduced as the new chief strategy officer, a promotion he'd been hinting at for months on LinkedIn. He never made it to the mic. Martin took the stage himself and spoke directly to the crowd. This year has been one of reflection, of growth, and of painful realizations, he said slowly. It's also been the year we nearly destroyed our company from the inside. Everyone went silent. We've made mistakes, entrusted people with leadership roles they weren't ready for. Nepotism has its costs, and it nearly cost us everything. You could hear Jason's breath catch. Then Martin continued, but someone unexpected stepped in, someone who rebuilt what others broke. She came in quietly, humbly, and saved our operations from collapse. My heart beat louder with every word. And tonight, I'm proud to announce that our new Chief Strategy Officer, the person who will lead Monroe Global into its next decade, is Elena Monroe. Gasps, shattered glasses, Chloe's jaw hung open. Jason's world collapsed in slow motion. He stumbled forward. You've got to be kidding me! Martin didn't even flinch. Son, I've never been more serious. But she's my ex-wife. She doesn't belong here. I stepped up beside Martin, facing him with all the calm he never expected. You're right, Jason. I don't belong in your life anymore. I belong here where value is recognized, not discarded. The silence that followed was a thunderclap. Jason tried to salvage his pride. You used me to get back in. I smiled coldly. You used me for years. I just returned the favor with dividends. People started clapping, some half-hearted, some shocked. A few were full-on cheering. But the moment that really sealed it, the twist that no one saw coming, was when Martin leaned into the mic one last time and said, Jason Monroe, your employment with Monroe Global is hereby terminated, effective immediately. Security was already walking toward him. He looked around, stunned, betrayed. Chloe slowly stepped away from him, already calculating her next Instagram post. As they escorted him out, he screamed, You'll regret this. You're nothing without me. But he was wrong. Because the next move, that was the one that would bury him for good. The days after the gala were a whirlwind. News spread like wildfire. Articles with headlines like CEO's ex-wife outmaneuvers Golden Boy's son and corporate soap opera at Monroe Global flooded every business outlet. LinkedIn was a mess. Everyone who used to ignore me was suddenly reposting my quotes and pretending they always knew I had it in me. But behind the scenes, it was chaos. Jason had gone radio silent. Chloe tried to reach out through mutual contacts, saying she never meant to hurt me, and she was just caught in the middle. I didn't respond. Not because I was being the bigger person, but because I didn't need to. My silence screamed louder than anything she could have said. A week later, I walked into my office, yes, his old office, and sat behind the desk where he once told me I'd never understand the business world. I leaned back, looked at the skyline, and smiled. Then my assistant buzzed in. "There's a Mr. Dawson here to see you. Said you used to teach him at UCLA. I froze. That name, Noah Dawson, my former student, the one who disappeared in the middle of the semester 5 years ago after winning a major tech competition and securing funding from Silicon Valley investors. Everyone had whispered about him, the young genius who vanished to build an empire. And now he was here. I told her to send him in. He walked in wearing jeans, a black turtleneck, and the kind of quiet confidence that said he didn't care who ran this building because he could buy it tomorrow. "Elena," he said with a grin, "I've been waiting a long time to talk to you again." I raised an eyebrow. "You've been following my story?" He nodded. "Your fall was public, but your rise? That was art. And I want in." That's when he laid it all out. Noah had built a billion-dollar predictive analytics platform and wanted Monroe Global to be its flagship client, but only if I was in charge of integration. It was the kind of offer that could cement my legacy. I agreed to explore it, but something about his interest made me cautious. Why now? Why me? 2 days later, the twist came. During a late-night strategy session, I saw a notification pop up on my screen. Anonymous message. "Noah's not who he says he is. Check where he went after he dropped out." I clicked. There it was, a trail leading to Jason. Noah had worked with Jason's tech division 3 years ago under a different name. Apparently, Jason tried to quietly invest in his company, got rejected, and then tried to sabotage Noah's launch by leaking private data. The scandal had been buried, but Noah never forgot. He wasn't here just for a deal. He was here for revenge. I confronted him the next day. He didn't deny it. "Jason humiliated me, treated me like a pawn, but watching you destroy him at that gala, that was justice. I just want a chance to finish what he started and do it right with you." I should have walked away, but instead I partnered with him. Jason's past misdeeds were coming full circle, and this time he was going to watch someone else profit from what he thought he owned. Meanwhile, Miranda, Jason's mother, had started a pity campaign online, posting passive-aggressive Bible quotes, vague captions about family betrayal, and worst of all, old photos of Jason and me with captions like, "Back when loyalty meant something." I ignored her until I got an anonymous message from a burner account. "She's planning to sue you. Claims you used insider info to steal her son's job." I laughed until I saw the lawsuit filed. It was real. Miranda Monroe versus Elena Monroe. Defamation, corporate sabotage, mental anguish, and manipulative tactics unbecoming of a woman in leadership. I wasn't just fighting Jason anymore. I was going to war with the whole Monroe family. And in court, I had one weapon they didn't see coming a secret I had kept hidden for years. One that could burn them all to the ground. The courtroom was packed. Press, paparazzi, former colleagues, influencers who had once shared Chloe's TikToks were now live streaming from the courthouse steps, trying to get ahead of the next viral bombshell. The Monroe name still drew attention, but now it was scandal, not prestige. Miranda sat on the plaintiff's side like a queen, without a throne, overdone in pearls, eyes full of venom. Jason was right behind her, avoiding my gaze. Chloe, nowhere to be found. Probably hiding behind a filter somewhere, praying this mess wouldn't mess up her brand deals. I sat calmly, dressed in navy, no theatrics. Just strategy, because what they didn't know was that I had planned for this. The judge opened the session. Miranda's attorney made a dramatic case, full of words like manipulated, betrayed, and orchestrated humiliation. They played old videos of family vacations clips edited to make me look unstable. It was a smear campaign, polished and rehearsed. And then it was my turn. My attorney stood, cleared her throat, and said just one sentence: "We'd like to call our surprise witness." The crowd stirred, the doors opened, and in walked Rachel, Miranda's former assistant, the same woman who had mysteriously resigned the week after my divorce and disappeared. Now she was back, and she had everything. She swore under oath that Miranda had conspired with Jason to fake documents, leak confidential files, and sabotage internal promotions so Jason could rise faster. Emails, texts, voice recordings, even a video of Miranda bragging about how easy it was to get rid of that professor wife of his. The lawsuit flipped right there in real time. From me being the accused to Miranda staring down perjury, conspiracy, and obstruction. The judge dismissed the case. And Miranda, her face turned ghost white as federal agents waited outside. That's right, Noah had quietly tipped off the SEC too. Jason tried to run after her, shouting, "Mom, they're lying!" But she was already being cuffed. As he turned back toward me, eyes wild, another twist dropped like a hammer. "Jason Monroe?" A new voice called out. A woman in a black pantsuit walked in. U.S. Department of Labor. "You're under investigation for fraudulent misclassification of employees under your leadership at Monroe Tech Division. You'll need to come with us." That smug look he always wore shattered. 2 Monroes, 2 arrests in less than 20 minutes. But the story wasn't over. As the courthouse cleared, I stood on the steps in front of the cameras. I didn't say much, just enough to let the world know I didn't fight to destroy anyone. I fought to survive. And in doing so, the truth destroyed itself. They ate it up. That night, my name trended on every platform. And yet the biggest twist? It hadn't happened yet. Because just as I returned to my penthouse, there was a letter waiting in my mailbox. No stamp, no sender. Inside was a single sheet of paper, written in Jason's handwriting. It said, "You may have won the company, but you don't know everything about your new business partner. Ask Noah what happened in Palo Alto and why he really dropped out." I froze because suddenly it felt like I was the one being played. That note haunted me. It wasn't the handwriting or even the message that got under my skin. It was the truth I felt pulsing beneath it. I trusted Noah too quickly. I let my need for justice cloud my judgment. And Jason, for all his cruelty, wasn't stupid. If he left that note, there was something behind it. I couldn't ignore it. That night, I searched deeper into Noah's past. Public records, old university transcripts, even court files buried behind paywalls. At first, it was the same story: promising student, dropped out, sudden tech success. But then I found something that made my blood run cold. An NDA filed 2 years ago between Noah Dawson and a woman named Emily Kravitz. She was a whistleblower. The documents were sealed, but a few leaked references confirmed what I feared. Noah had stolen early stage code from a development intern and paid her off to stay quiet. The entire foundation of his billion-dollar company wasn't his. And worse, the investor who had helped bury the scandal was Jason. The 2 men I thought hated each other had once worked together. And now I was caught in the middle of whatever revenge plot Noah had been cooking for years. The next morning, I confronted him in my office. I didn't sugarcoat it. "Why did Jason say I don't know everything about you?" He didn't flinch, just leaned forward, steepled his fingers, and said, "Because you don't." He confessed. Jason had invested in his startup anonymously through shell companies, but when Noah got too much attention, Jason tried to take over. That's when the deal broke. Their relationship soured into a cold war, one Noah thought he ended. Until I showed up. He had used me not to destroy Jason, but to get into Monroe Global. I needed a face the board would trust, he said. Someone strategic, brilliant, and publicly sympathetic. You were perfect, but I didn't expect to actually respect you. I should have fired him. Instead, I played it cool, smiled, and said, Then I guess we both underestimated each other. But inside, I was already planning my next move. I called Emily, the intern. She had left tech, was working at a nonprofit now. I invited her to lunch. She was nervous, shaking, but I told her, "It's time your story was told." She agreed to go public, but only if I promised she wouldn't be left to deal with the fallout alone. I promised. The article dropped 3 days later. Headline: The real mind behind Monarch AI. Whistleblower speaks out against billion-dollar fraud. It exploded, investors pulled out, stock dropped, the board of Monroe Global panicked and called an emergency meeting. I walked in late, holding a folder. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said calmly, "I believe it's time we clean house, starting with Mr. Dawson." I dropped the folder on the table, evidence, emails, the original code, legal grounds for severance, and disassociation. They voted unanimously. Noah was out. And just like that, the throne was mine alone. Weeks later, at another gala, the real one, not the one Jason tried to impress me at, I stood at the podium, looking down at a sea of suits and cameras. No scandals, no sabotage, just respect. But as I walked backstage, I saw someone waiting by the exit. Jason, he looked like a ghost of himself. No tie, face hollow, suit wrinkled. "I lost everything," he said quietly. I stared at him, and for the first time since he left me, I didn't feel pain or anger. I felt nothing. "You didn't lose everything, Jason," I said. "You gave it away." He looked like he wanted to argue, but instead he turned and walked into the night. I never saw him again. And me? I wasn't just the ex-wife anymore. I was the strategist, the survivor, the CEO of a new era. Because sometimes silence is the most powerful scream, and revenge, it's best served not cold, but quietly with a signature and a boardroom full of witnesses. If you made it this far, thank you for watching this emotional roller coaster of betrayal, silence, and ultimate revenge. Sometimes the best revenge isn't loud, it's strategic, it's graceful, it's watching those who broke you fall apart while you rise higher than they ever imagined. If you enjoyed this story and want more jaw-dropping twists like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell because, trust me, the next one, you won't see it coming.